Question on the permit process for Bitcoin mining operations at gas well pads. What is the proper permit issued for those operations?
So for the, it's not a specific to the Bitcoin. It depends on how they are operating. One of the things is discussed this in front of the House as well. A number of the businesses are starting to use a GP that would allow them to operate for not the entirety of the year. So they use that general permit and then don't operate the equipment for some period of time, and that allows them to keep the coverage under the general permit. That's something we're looking at right now because, frankly, it's when we did the general permit, we never imagined this would be an issue we'd be dealing with.
Is that all that you're examining, is the length of time with respect to the operations?
That's the provision under the general permit. So if they were coming in as a full-time operation, they would, it would depend on the amount of emissions they are creating, what type of permit they might need, whether it's Title V, minor, synthetic minor. There's a variety of air quality permits they might otherwise need to apply for, depending on the emissions profile.
Will any of their ancillary equipment be exempt or qualify for any of the exemptions?
For which exemptions? For the under what right now we're reviewing it as kind of a initial matter, so I don't know that we've made any determinations on future what that exemption process looks like, if that's your question.
Let me ask you this. If a permit application comes in and there are different pockets in different regions within the state, you'd agree with me on that, with different field offices that would review that, how does that come about? Does it ultimately come back to you and to the department, or are these individual field offices given discretion to grant permits?
No, I wouldn't say discretion. I think, they operate under some standard operating procedures that are put out by Bureau of Air Quality in central office, and the regions operate under that. There's, relatively regular conversations between the program managers, so in this case, the air quality program managers in the regions and central office, to make sure we try to stay coordinated on this. If there are issues within that process, would welcome hearing that, and so we can make sure we're correcting it.
If a permit is issued from one of these offices, is it automatically, per your policies within the department, does it come back through a chain of command for review before it's issued?
It gets issued out of the regional office, so it'll get issued usually, but I think the program manager is usually the one who signs off on it ultimately.
Does that happen irrespective of overall department granting that permit?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by that question.
I'm trying to ascertain whether or not there's a chain of command within your policies and procedures that these individual field offices then, prior to them, let's say there's a Bitcoin mining operation in Northwest versus whatever, in a different department. Does that, before they grant that, does that come through, I don't say necessarily your desk, but some central oversight so that there's consistency throughout the Commonwealth?
Not central, but within the region. And as I said, then it gets managed in the regional programs with the connect back to central office in terms of overall guidance, but not necessarily reviewing each and every permit.
So it's possible that there may be inconsistent permits granted throughout different regions within the Commonwealth.
It is possible, and that's something that we're always trying to nail down. I always say the way I think of the permit process is as a range of outcomes. It's not always just a yes or no. It's conditions within those permits and things like that. So to the extent there's a band there, the effort is always about how do we narrow the band of the outcomes if one person is reviewing the same permit application. If two different people are reviewing the same permit application, that you end up at like reasonably similar results.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I commend you for your work with respect to cleaning up rivers, my hometown being Johnstown, and the work that's done with the mine discharge has really revitalized our recreational opportunities within Johnstown and the surrounding of the 35th District. Going forward here, what are your plans to continue that work to upkeep those discharge points and also to expand so that more rivers will be able to be cleaned up and more people will be able to take advantage of that opportunity?
Sure. So some of that relates back to the discussion we were having about the bay. That $450 million is not for the bay; it's for water quality across the board. Beyond that, again, there's for example, money within the infrastructure bill where we go from about $27 million to $245 million available for abandoned mine land reclamation. One of the things we're going to have to address within that is ongoing operation and maintenance of abandoned mine drainage structures. We can build them and operate and maintain them with these dollars. We can't put the money into this trust fund that had been created to really make sure for the long term we can oversee operation and maintenance. That's one of those areas of concern, particularly as we expand kind of the reach of the effort that I want to make sure we're continuing to pay attention to.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.